Okay. Привет всем! С вами я, Janie, и это College Russian. So today we are going to be talking about one of the most confusing topics in Russian. It's something so simple. It's just the word went. Went. Why is this so complicated in Russian? It makes no sense. And yet people make mistakes over it, make mistakes in this area over and over again. In fact, I myself am guilty of this. I honestly did not figure this out. I did not figure out how to correctly say went until I started teaching Russian at the Slidla. That's a little embarrassing, but seriously, I struggled with this for so long. So don't worry, I've got your back. I'm going to help break that down for you in today's lesson. So we're going to be practicing a little bit of that. And just a couple of quick reminders. Don't forget to subscribe. For some reason, lots of people who come here aren't subscribed. I don't know what it hurts you to subscribe to the channel, but please do that. That does, it helps make me feel like I'm not doing all of this work in vain. Also, over on collegerussian.com, you can go ahead and get these beautiful worksheets that I make and that my students in the university use. Those are free to you. Like how about, we'll say this, I'll give you a worksheet in exchange for you subscribing to the channel. So there we go. I'll give you a little bribe. And then another reminder, if you are new to these verbs of motion, or if you even haven't learned how to say to go, bless your heart, enjoy your innocence. And you might want to backtrack a little bit and go watch this video. I'll link to it down in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so has any of your Russian friends or your teacher ever asked you, что ты делал вчера? And you want to be like, well, you know, I watched a show and then I went to the store and you find yourself saying something like, я шел на концерт. No, that doesn't make any sense in Russian. I mean, it kind of does, but not really. And I can see your logic here. I can see why you thought, shol, because I only did it one time, so it wouldn't be appropriate to say ходил, right? Okay, we're going to break this down in today's video, and you'll know why that's wrong here in just a little bit. So next, the next thing we have to think about, here's another example of something wrong somebody might say, is, for example, я Что ты делала на выходных? What did you do on the weekend? And you want to be like, oh, we went to Toronto. And you say, я пошла в Торонто. Okay, so what's wrong with that? Well, what you just said here is, I walked to Toronto and I haven't necessarily come back yet. And right, so most likely you've come back, and that's why you're having this conversation with this person. Also, it's kind of hard to walk to Toronto. I mean, especially if it's winter, geez, that's brutal. So there's a better version of went here, and you're going to know it by the end of the video. So I know you're just thinking like, dude, why does it have to be complicated? I just want to say I went somewhere. Oh my gosh. And I've got you. Don't worry. I was like you. I was learning Russian. I was confused by all of these things. 20 years of torture, people. 20 years of torture. I have been studying Russian grammar, but now I'm bringing all of my knowledge, all of the tips and tricks I have learned over these 20 fabulous, frustrating years, and I'm going to share them with you to make your Russian study a little bit more enjoyable and digestible. So in order to say went, we need to ask ourselves two questions. And these two questions are different than when we ask ourselves the two questions when we're going, right? So our first question to say to went, whatever, that's not even a word, is one, did you go by foot or by vehicle? So that's question number one. Question number two, and this is key. This is key. Did you come back from wherever you went? That's what makes all the difference. Crazy. Did you come back from wherever you went? Okay, so if you went by foot, you're going to be choosing from anything on this row. Then the next question is, did you come back? If you came back, you're going to be choosing from this column. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at the by foot options and the by vehicle options. Then we've got multi-directional, in motion going, and emphasis on departure, i.e. you haven't come back yet. Now, this middle column here is where people get really tripped up. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm just going to make your life easy. You really don't use words from this middle column, hardly ever. You really don't. There's not going to be a situation in which you're going to need to say, я шла. I doubt you're going to need to say that anytime soon. Let me explain why. If you say something like "Я шел на концерт," it sounds very awkward in Russian. Let me illustrate for you why this sounds awkward by showing you what it would sound like in English. "Я шел на концерт" in Russian sounds like this in English. I was going to the concert. So if somebody asked you, "Что ты делал вчера?" and you said, "I was going to the concert," they're going to be like, "And," right? So that's exactly how that sounds in Russian as well, because it ends up having an ing on it, and it just sounds weird. So get this middle column out of your head. Unless, and this very rarely happens, but here is an example of when you would use it. For example, "Я шла по улице, когда я увидела мою подругу." So I was walking along the street when I saw my friend, right? So that would make sense. I was walking along the street, and then there's more to it. Same thing over here. Look at this one. So the motor broke, мотор сломался, когда я ехал домой. The motor broke when I was driving home. That makes sense, doesn't it? But just "я ехал домой," that doesn't make sense. That's not a full sentence. I was driving home. That's not a full sentence. That's not enough information. So get the middle column out of your head. We're done with it. We're not going to use middle column today. So all of you know my system of PCP, not the drug, perceive, comprehend, produce. When we're talking about complex Russian grammar, we want to first just observe what's going on. Okay, so this is the section where I'm going to give you some example sentences, and you're just going to observe what's happening and why you think. This is where we come up with theories about why we think that's happening. Okay, so что ты делал вчера? Я ходил на концерт. This is correct. Okay, this is how you would say this. What did you do yesterday? I went to a concert. Okay, a concert is something. So I always tell students, by foot should be your default unless it is obviously another city, state, country, someplace you obviously cannot walk to. Okay, imagine you're living in a big city. Yeah, you could easily walk down the street and go to a concert if you lived in New York City, or in Moscow, for example. So we're getting our by foot. And they obviously came back from the concert, which is why you're asking them, "What did you do yesterday?" Because if they went to the concert and died, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? So, "Я ходил на концерт." "Я ходил на концерт." You came back from the concert and you went there by foot. That's why we got that one. Next. Okay, so now the other use of the multi-direction column is always used to go. We used to make multiple trips. We went there, we came back. We went there, we came back. We went there, we came back. It can also, hurts the brain, it can also mean just one time ever in your whole life, so long as you came back from there, right? So maybe you only ever went to babushka one time, and that's it in your whole life. You came back from there, so we would use ездила as well. Now, when we are trying to figure out how to translate it, we need other words in the sentence to create that context. So for example, в детстве, in childhood, and then we have in the summer. So see how that kind of creates the impression that this was a repeated kind of thing. So в детстве я ездила к бабушке на дачу летом. So we do the by vehicle because for those of you who know, the dacha is kind of your country house, and you'd most likely need to go there by vehicle of some sort. Maybe you take transportation or a taxi or something like that. So мы ездили к бабушке на дачу. And we always used to do it. So I would translate this sentence as, in my childhood, we used to go visit my grandma in the summer. That's how I would translate that sentence. Так, следующий. Okay, so you're having a conversation with this guy, Yuri Yuryevich, and you say, "Yuri Yuryevich, почему вас не было на семинаре? Why were you not at the seminar?" Okay, so you're face-to-face having this conversation. This isn't by the phone like, "Hey, where'd you go? We were waiting for you here at the seminar," right? Nope, he's back and you're asking him. And he says, "Я ездил к другу в Москву. Он болен." So I went to visit my friend in Moscow. He's sick, right? Okay, so we have an obvious other city, state, or country, Moskva. So therefore we need a by vehicle. And he went and he came back, and that's why you're having that conversation with him. Я ездил к другу в Москву, right? Okay, следующий. Oh, look at this one. Oh, this one's super interesting. Okay. So what's happening in this sentence? У нас была очень классная поездка. Сначала мы поехали в Лондон, оттуда поехали в Париж, потом поехали в Мадрид и, наконец, поехали домой. Okay, wow. We obviously came back from Europe. We obviously came back, but we're specifically describing how we went from one place to the next, to the next, to the next. We did not make round trips in between London and Paris. No, we went from London to Paris, from Paris to Madrid. So that is why we're getting поехали, поехали, поехали. And you cannot walk from London to Paris. You cannot walk from Paris to Madrid. I guess you could, but that's not what we're talking about. So we're using мы поехали. One time. So as you can see here, a series of destinations. Так, and at the end of the video, I will tell you about a trip I went on last summer, and I'll kind of break it down like that for you. We went from here, we went to there, then we went to there, etc. So next. Just a quick tangent, okay? Just a quick tangent. So students are often asking me, well, why do we sometimes see поехали and пошли? And that is because you're literally saying, this can mean you're saying, let's go. And you're literally saying, we're out of here, we're gone, right? We're doing this. So famous words of Yuri Gagarin before he launched into space was, поехали, let's do this, we're out of here, right? Another one is пошли домой, let's go home, let's go do that, right? Now, also, sometimes you'll see, ну что ж, пойдем, or this is very folksy, ну что ж, пойдемте. If you hear it like that, it's going to have a specific intonation, and it's going to be a suggestion. Shall we? So he's saying here, пойдемте вечером в кино группой. So, hey, let's all go this evening to the movies as a group. And then they agree. Да, конечно, пошли. Yeah, for sure, let's go. See? Okay, another interesting usage of these пошел, пошла is it can be a kind of a way to tell somebody to F off, right? So like you're literally saying like, get out of here. You're gone. Get out of my face. Like you're gone. So this is a funny little meme. Идеальная ссора, right? The ideal argument that you could have with your partner. Пошла ты. So he's like, get out of here. Whatever, I'm pissed at you. And she's like, да сам пошел. Like you get out of here. And then he says, пошли вместе. Should we get out of here together? Да, пошли. And there we go. The argument resolved itself. So that's a cute little meme illustrating how these verbs of motion, how the concept of пошел, пошла, how they can have kind of different meanings. Okay, so now we are to the comprehend section of our video, which is where you're going to look at the chart and you're going to, in a very guided, structured way, try and comprehend and fill in these blanks. So you're not producing too much. You're just trying to use this information in front of you to produce. So here we go. So, где папа? Where's dad? On something to work. We don't have another city. We don't have another state. We don't have another country. So it's going to be by foot. And he hasn't come back from work. And that's why we're asking, where is he? So we come over here. We don't want anything in the middle column. We hate that middle column. Он пошел на работу. Он пошел на работу. Так. And there because we asked ourselves those questions. Did he go by foot? Did he come back? Nope, he hasn't come back. Вот. Next one. Почему тебя не было на уроке вчера? Why weren't you on the lesson yesterday? And урок is something, or wait, where did they go? He went to the doctor. You could walk to the doctor if you lived in a big city, right? It's not an other country, state, city. So we're going to be choosing here by foot. And he has obviously come back from the doctor because you're having this conversation with him. So we'd say, я ходил, or я ходила к врачу. Я ходила к врачу. Now we're like, где Вова? And then somebody tells him, его не будет сегодня. He's not going to be here today because he went to Sochi. For those of you guys who know Russian geography, Sochi is down in the south by the sea. So he most likely had to drive there. So we come up here to buy a vehicle and he has departed. And as far as we're concerned, he hasn't come back yet. He probably will, but he hasn't come back yet. And that's why we're asking where he is. Он поехал. Он поехал в Сочи. Так. Oh, we've got a busy day. She went from one place to the next. So я была занята весь день. Class is somewhere you could walk to. And you didn't make a round trip between class and then going back home. Nope, you went straight from занятия to work and then straight from work to the bar to meet your friends. You did not make round trips. So we come over here, we see series of destinations, we go. Я была занята весь день. Я пошла на занятия, после этого пошла на работу, потом пошла в бар встретиться с друзьями. Так. Okay. Мы раньше, we used to, back in the days, something to Latvia. I don't think you can walk to Latvia, right? I think you got to use some sort of vehicle to get to Latvia. So we used to go to Latvia to our cousins, к нашим двоюродным братьям и сестрам, но они теперь живут в Канаде, и нам трудно ездить туда. It's hard for us to go there now, right? So мы раньше, what do you think? Ездили в Латвию. Мы раньше ездили в Латвию. Okay, so now this is where we produced. And my students in university are actually going to be doing presentations for the class. They're going to be talking about trips. And next week, you'll see a video from me about all the trips that I have taken, all the interesting trips, not like the stupid little ones where I just had to go do something in a different state, but all the interesting trips I've taken in the past 20 years, starting from when I went to Russia when I was 19. And I'll be giving you years. I'll show pictures. It's going to be a fun video because I'm having my students do a similar one to this, and they're going to be doing a listening activity with my video. So I want you to think about this. How would you describe trips that you've been on as well? Or how would you use these verbs of how would you use these verbs of motion such as went to just have basic conversations with people? For example, how would you ask somebody where they went for Christmas or New Year's? So let's assume they didn't leave for New Year's, but maybe you want to know, oh, did you go to a bar? Did you go to a party? What did you do? Right? So you might say something like, куда вы ходили на Новый год? Where did you go for New Year's? Did you go to your friends? Did you go to a party? And you might say, да, мы ходили на дискотеку, это было здорово, мы танцевали, мы пили, да, вот такие вот, okay? Now, what if you want to know, did they travel? Did they go out of state? Did they go see somebody in a different place? Did they vacation? You might say something like, куда вы ездили на Рождество? Да? So, мы ездили к родителям. And then wherever you went. Most likely, Russians probably are not traveling for Rождество, but Americans are. We go places. We visit family for Christmas. Так, следующий. How would you ask somebody if they went to class yesterday? I already revealed the answer for you. So you're having a conversation with them to their face. Class is something they could walk to. Ты ходил на занятия вчера? Ты ходил на занятия вчера? Так. And then they might say something like, нет, я не ходила на занятия. Я ходила по магазинам. Мне скучно на занятиях. Nope, I didn't go to class. I went shopping. So ходила по магазинам means I walked all around the shops, the stores, and like kind of went shopping. Мне скучно на занятиях. It's boring for me in class. Так. Okay, what about this one? How would you say, let's go to the cafe? And remember, you're literally saying, we're out of here. We're going to the cafe. We're so going, we're already gone. So you might say something like, пошли в кафе. Хорошо, пошли в кафе. Так, очень хорошо. Вот так. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to do a mini little example for you of how you might talk about your trips. And then you'll really get to see a full video where I'm only speaking Russian, talking about all my trips. But I'm going to show you my logic behind why I say what I say, because that will not be in my following video. So here I'm going to show you my logic. Okay. В 2022 году я ездила к семье на запад США. Так. Мы сначала поехали. Oh, real quick, let me explain my logic there. So I went out west. I went to California and Utah, and it kind of got broken down. I went from one place to the next. But in general, I'm saying, yeah, last summer I went out west. I went to see my parents, and I came back from being out west. Так? Now let's break it down. What was the breakdown? Where did I go first? Сначала мы поехали, или полетели, we flew, к моим родителям в Калифорнию. So at first we flew straight to San Diego to see my parents, right? Okay, now while we were in San Diego, we did fun things around the town. We didn't necessarily drive, we went places by foot. Например, в Сан-Диего мы ходили на пляж. Вот это было супер. Потом мы ходили в парк SeaWorld. А еще мы ходили на работу моих родителей. If you guys want to find out more about that, I think there's some information about that in my shorts somewhere. Um, and then, вот это интересно, из Сан-Диего мы поехали на юг Юты в дом моих родителей. If you go back to last summer, I did a live stream from their house. I'm like super suntan because it's very hot there. So yeah, from there, from San Diego, we drove to southern Utah to my parents' vacation home. It's in a city called St. George, very beautiful. Так, then, потом мы поехали на север Юты, к моему брату, где находится мой родной город, right? So then from that place in southern Utah, we went up north, about 4 hours north, and we went to my childhood home where my brother is currently living. This is, and I have a whole video of this, you can find it on my channel, about where I grew up. And then from there, и оттуда мы поехали или полетели домой в Maryland. So start thinking, how would you break down your trip like that? That's how you're going to have to talk about one of your trips. If you're in my class or if you're a student of one of my private students ever. Speaking of, for any of you who are my private students, try answering these questions. Куда вы ходили вчера? Куда вы ходили вчера? Most likely you didn't go somewhere and just, get incapacitated and have to sleep there and you're hoping somebody has noticed that you've disappeared. Most likely you came back, okay? Куда вы ездили прошлым летом? Куда вы ездили прошлым летом? Hey, did you go anywhere last summer? And maybe you did, and then maybe you went to multiple places. How would you break that down? Leave these comments, by the way, leave your answers to these in the comments below. Номер 3. Как часто вы ездили к бабушке и дедушке в детстве? How often did you go visit your grandma and your grandpa when you were a child? Да, вот. Оставляйте комментарии внизу. Вот это будет интересно. So that's all for today's lesson. Just a quick reminder, you can always email me with questions about grammar or requests for materials. I do currently have a slot or two open for a private student. So if you've ever thought about doing those private Russian lessons, reach out to me. I love helping people work through the language and get them organized and motivated. So you can email me about that at collegerussian@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments below. Это все на сегодня. Спасибо вам за просмотр и увидимся на следующей неделе. До свидания.